Welcome to another Top 5 with Kris 05, guys. Today we're gonna be talking about the best decks in Hearthstone before the new rotation happens, as well as the new expansion launches on the March 25th. I'm happy to say Hearthstone has provided codes for me to give away, and I'm gonna be giving away one of the codes in this video, and all you gotta do is drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below which card you're gonna be missing the most from the rotation. I'm gonna be drawing the winner live on stream, sometimes next week before the new expansion happens, but I will pin the comment of the winner under this video, so try and check out in about a week. In this video, we're gonna check out what are the best 5 decks in the game, so you can be hitting yourself some easy legend before the expansion actually drops. But we're also gonna check out all of the other working archetypes for each class, so stick around to the end. Now, let's get into the video.
You are not prepared!
Before we get into the decks, I'd like to talk about one of my favorite games right now, which is, I know, you've heard it before, but it really is Raid Shadow Legends. Before you click away, I want to tell you, I used to hate Raid before, I'm not even kidding. I tried it like 3 years ago, and I really didn't like the game. But I tried it again, a year and a half ago, and I couldn't drop it anymore, because the game is really much better than you probably have seen it before, or heck, even if you've tried it before, it is much better now. So many cool quality of life changes have happened over the past months and years, as well as so much extra cool new content has been coming out, that I can safely say even if you tried Raid before, you should definitely give it another shot and see how much better the game is. I myself back in the day thought Raid is not a game for me, and it really isn't for everybody, that's true. But once I really gave it a shot, I really did enjoy it, and now I'm playing it religiously each day, even during my streams, even during editing videos, like Raid is on my second monitor each day, and I really am enjoying the game a lot, and you guys would really help me a ton if you actually also download the game through my download link, and that's gonna net you an amazing legendary champion on your first day, as well as a cool epic champion as well, which is really gonna help you skyrocket your progress. Trust me, give the game a try, play it for a few days, and see if you like it yourself. If you don't like it, no worries, nobody's forcing you to play it, but I really think most of you will actually enjoy the hell out of it. Right now is actually the perfect time to start playing Raid, because they are giving you a free Void legendary champion, which is the equivalent of, what, signature legendary diamond card, let's say? And you're gonna be getting yourself this bad boy in your first 24 hours of your new account, and you have until the end of March to use the code Supreme6, which is gonna get you this amazing champion, and I myself honestly would have been so happy to get this guy back when I started, like you guys don't even know how good you have it. But yeah, I'd really appreciate it if you download the game from my download link, and also check out my YouTube channel about Raid, and see how much fun the game is for yourself. Now, let's get back to the decks. The first deck on the list, well, again, it's gonna be frickin' Terran Shaman, what can I say? The meta has not really been shifting too much for the past few weeks, so not much has changed here as well, and we're still seeing a pretty standardized Terran Shaman sitting at the top with a very amazing win rate, very amazing sample size, and all around not that complicated to play well. So you definitely need to know how to be playing with and against this Terran Shaman deck right now, if you want to be hitting easy legends in the next few days. You could check out my detailed guide about this one, no need to go over the top here, like we have been talking about this thing left and right for way too long now, so there's really no point wasting too much time with this. It would be better just to check out what are the current matchups statistics looking like for it, and as you can see, if you're sick of these, Warrior is going to be the way to go. Dungar Druid is also pretty lit against them, Location Warlock, and I gotta say from experience, Defense Terran Shaman is going to be smacking this one around as well, so I was kind of surprised to not actually see Defense Terran Shaman pretty high on the win rates from Diamond to Legend at least, so yeah, from Diamond to Legend this would be the deck to go for. Mulligan wise, here's what we have. Going first, you're gonna want your good Terran cards like Starport, like SCV. Make sure to have at least one drop, usually one is actually enough, especially going first, so either the SCV or the Murloc Growthin. Turbilus is MVP always, Liftoff is pretty nice, Gorgon Zormu, especially if you're curving into it, Missile Pod usually is a no-brainer, and Trusty Companion I'd say is only a keep if you already have a good one drop like SCV. Other than that, I wouldn't really be holding on to too much else. And as for on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, but here since you're going second, I'd say it's even a good idea to be keeping things like Backstage Bouncer, because that can be pretty lit. And here the Missile Pod is even more MVP, because you are going to be the second guy on the board, so the board is probably going to have something to AoE on. I wouldn't be against even keeping things like Pop-Up Book here, because if the opponent tempos out something important, you are going to want to handle it. For other good Shaman decks, we can see several iterations of Terran Shaman. I think this is the one I showed you, pretty strong stuff, 59% win rate, 3,300 games. We can see other massive sample size lists as well, 2,300 games. That is actually kind of amazing. That's actually 23,000. I'm so good at numbers. But yeah, several iterations of the aggro Terran Shaman, but also defense Terran Shaman is gonna be a pretty good deck to try for. Like, here's a few variations, not that big a sample size, but I guess it has a little bit more room for creativity, so there's that. Other than that, nothing else really is that amazing for Shaman right now. If we gotta be completely honest, the Terran core of the Shaman decks is what carries basically any Shaman archetype, so if you're really sick of the standard stuff, you could actually just slap in the good Terran cards. And try something completely different. Things like Asteroid Shaman are playable still, but nah, that's not exactly playable in my book if you ask me. So yeah, if you want to be winning with Shaman, it's going to have to be either aggro or defense Terran Shaman. On the number 2 spot, we have a deck I just gave you guys a guide about, and this would be Discover Hunter. This is pretty close to the deck I showed you. I think the only difference is this one has Ziliax in here, as well as the ETC is a little bit different. But yeah, this is a very, very nice deck, and I do advise you to check out my detailed guide about it, because I did do my best to really explain the gist of it over there. It's not a very simple deck, but you can play it in all sorts of different gears depending on what you have, depending on what the opponent is. You could be dropping a couple of Seaside Giants as soon as turn 3 if you're lucky. You could be shooting the opponent's face for like 10 damage as soon as turn 3 again if you get lucky with a Hydralisk and a couple of locations. And you also could be going for the long game with things like Incendious, like Ceaseless Expanse, all of that good stuff. You get several copies of your important cards with the help of Rangari Scout, and you even get yourself an extra Rangari Scout out of the Astral Vigilance, so that could be pretty sick. We have a couple of Glacial Shards, which you could be getting extra copies again with this bad boy. You could also get it through the ETC, which is, again, a Discover, by the way, so Rangari into ETC basically guarantees you are going to be getting a couple of Glacial Shards that way. This variant is also running Fizzle, which is kind of interesting, and you also have Bob in here too. So that can be kind of cool as well. As for the Ziliax, it's going to be the Pylon module plus the Discount module, so that's going to basically be helping you drop it down nice and easily, especially with the help of alien encounters and such. But yeah, definitely advise you to check out the guide if you really want to know what to do with it. Matchup-wise, as you can see, we don't have damage stats, but this one's actually hella good against Terran Shaman, which is kind of interesting because the other variant I showed you said Terran Shaman was not a great matchup. So that's definitely very weird. Maybe it's a skill issue, I don't know. Or it just doesn't have that much stats. Mulligan-wise, here's what the situation looks like. Going first and second for that matter, you're gonna probably want either of these top 5 cards. Nidus Worms is not that bad. Rangari Scout on turn 1 is actually okay too. And honestly, if you have both the locations already, keeping the Seaside Giant can also be absolutely huge. And as for on the coin, again, much of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. On the number 3 spot, we can also just talk about Zerg Hunter as well, because that is also an amazing option for you to be slapping with, and this again is a deck I have been talking about plenty. This one's actually pretty weird, like why the hell would we have 2 Snow Flippers in here? I guess it makes some sense, question mark? I don't know, this is honestly weird, guys. Why the hell would we be using this? I guess you have Kill Command in here, and also this allows it to actually buff this guy super early, but really? Is it really that good? I don't know, feels like a bait. Let me just look at some more standard variant of this deck, because this one is a little bit too spicy for my liking. This would be a much better standard variant of this deck, but I guess that one is also pretty high on the win rate nowadays for reasons unknown to me. Somebody, I think, overcooked the galoshes over there. But yeah, this would be your standard Zerg hand buff Hunter. It's pretty strong because you could be doing absurd things like literally turn 2 a couple of 5/5s on the board if you get lucky, like turn 1 spawning pool, turn 2 you coin out reserve spot and you play the Zergs like that. That is absolutely huge. And technically you could even do turn 2 a couple of 7/6s, because turn 1 couple muscle, turn 2 coin reserve spot, and that's a couple of 7/6s nice and quick. Again, this is a deck I've done a detailed guide about, so no need to go too crazy on the explanations here, but yeah, it's basically a very scammy deck, very cheesy deck, and depending on how good you are at reading the situation, depending on how good you are reading how fast you should be going, or how tall you should be going, you will be getting a lot of easy wins with this one. But you really need to do them. But you really need to know the meta if you want to be maximizing on the win rate with this thing. The main gist of the deck is you want to be chipping away nice and good in the early turns with some fat minions, and that way you usually drop the opponent down to around 10 health as soon as turn 4 or 5, and after that you basically try to finish them off with things like Star Shooter, with things like Celestial Shot, heck, even things like Big Huffer, which you could be buffing with the help of all of the buff cards like Couple Muscle, like Reserve Spot, Char. All of that stuff could help you get a nice big charger, but obviously taunts are going to be not your friend in that case. That is where the Sharpshooter's Arcane Shots come into play as long as the opponent doesn't heal too much or armor up. This should be a pretty good way for you to finish off the opponent. So again, check out the detailed guide if you want to really know what to do with this one. Matchup wise, Terran Shaman apparently is not going to be your friend, but the rest is pretty decent aside from Fishing Priest and some of the warriors. But everything else is bright green, so again, climbing should be happening for you. And as for the mulligan, here's what it goes. Locations are absolutely MVP. Bird watching helps you get free 2 Zerglings that way, and that way you could also buff up the spawning pool Zerglings too, as long as you have materialized them still. Reserve spot, absolute MVP buff. Couple muscle is an okay thing to be holding on to, but try not to be keeping both of these buffs unless you already have an amazing hand like a Zergling or a location. Tracking is usually okay, and even Evolution Chambers could be a keep, like if you have a turn 1 a couple of Zerglings, turn 2 you play Evolution Chambers, and that gives you a turn 2 a couple of free 2s, which is far from 7/6s, but sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles. The rest probably not so hot, unless you have a good plan for it. And on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. For other good Hunter decks, we can also see things like Grunter Hunter still doing fine, like here's a variation of it with small sample size however. Here's the variant I was talking about. Apparently this thing was super popular. What the hell, guys? I have not seen a single snow flipper in my life. What the hell is this? 11,000 games? What is this? Have I been living under a rock? We can also see things like Secret Hunters still being usable nice and good, and all sorts of iterations of all the hunters I've talked about already. I've even heard people play still Starship Hunter, but it's not the cream of the crop nowadays now, is it? On the number 4 spot, we can also talk about Protoss Priest, and I can attest this is a very fun, very strong deck you could be clapping with, and shocking I know, but I have a guide for this thing, guys. It's almost as if I'm giving you guides for all the top meta decks before I do the top meta report or something like that, or maybe I just have guides for every single deck nowadays. It's one or the other, I don't know, can't put my finger on it. But yeah, right now Protoss Priest is super fun, super strong, and pretty consistent at the things it does. You can do some very cheap motherships which give you all sorts of amazing Protoss minions for you to get some creative wins with. It's really fun, and you have actually some amazing scam potential with the help of things like getting yourself chargers out of the chrono boost, copying them with the hallucination, and actually you could also buff them nice and big with things like orbital halo or power chords, and then get extra copies of them that way. And that can be literally above 20 damage from hand if you know what you're doing. You could even do absolute amazing scam turns with the help of Chill and Vol-Jin. Like if you have enough mana, you play yourself a chrono boost, you play Chill and Vol-Jin on the opponent's let's say 8/8 or heck even 15/15 Celestial, Ceaseless Expanse that is, and you copy it once or twice with hallucination and boom, that could be literally 45 damage out of your hand, which is literally unheard of, but obviously that's not going to be happening way too often. You have several different ways to actually discount those cards with the help of Photon Cannon, with the help of the Sentry, which you could be getting tons of extra copies from with the help of Creation Protocol. You could even revive them. Some iterations of this deck are running the Potion guy. Can't remember his name. But you know who I'm talking about, the 2/3 guy. Yeah, this thing. Mixologist. So yeah, the deck is pretty flexible, pretty fun, and the games do tend to be feeling a lot different from time to time, so you gotta really be creative with this one and know how to get yourself some nice wins. Like sometimes even you just copy a bunch of 5/4 Void Rays and just zerg the opponent with a bunch of Divine Shields like that, and that can be pretty hard to deal with for most. Matchup-wise, here's what we have so far. Not that much stats, but you're gonna be fine against Zergs and 50-50 against Terrans, so what more can you ask for? As for the mulligan, here's what it's looking like. You want to be holding on to your only one drop, which would be the Miracle Salesman. Sentry is pretty awesome. Gold Banner for the card draw. Chrono Boost, you can get your nice Protoss cards fast. Photon Cannon is not that bad. Creation Protocol could be okay. Orbital Halo, especially if it's in the middle of your hand, would be amazing, so you can have a better chance of discounting it quickly. Bird Watching is also fine. The rest probably not so hot. And on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, but here I'd say even things like Deafened might make some sense, so you can actually negate some of the opponent's early stuff. For other Priest decks, we can also see things like Fishing Priest still doing nice and good. There's also things like Aggro Priest doing quite fine. This one is an interesting iteration. But Heart Control Priests are not as prevalent nowadays. Zarimi Priest is actually also pretty good. I have a guide about that one too. But yeah, right now Protoss Priest is definitely the way to go. And the last deck on the list is going to be another one of my favorites. This would be Archon Rogue. And I really grown to enjoy this deck quite a lot. I gave you guys a super detailed guide about this one. I really enjoyed it. I even have two guides about this one, if we gotta be completely honest. But yeah, this is a super solid deck. This one is actually a little bit different. It's also running Space Rock Collector Battlecry. Your next combo card costs one less. I guess this way you could be doing things like Dubious Purchases a little bit quicker, or I guess this Eridar Skulker. This is an interesting iteration, not gonna lie, I haven't really been seeing these cards in the best performers lately, but apparently the deck has evolved into something like this, so it might actually be kind of cool. But yeah, the main gist of it is in the early turns you want to be drawing a lot of cards with the help of Quick Pick, which you could be making up into a free with the help of Swarvy, but you are not a weapon rogue, you're just having these couple of weapon cards so you can get yourself more card draw, and you could be even using this on the hero power. It's still kind of fine. We even have Gorgon Zormo in this one, so you can have yourself a little bit of extra early game aggression. And I gotta say, this deck is actually quite different. This one is actually running the Dark Templar as well as the High Templar, which is kind of interesting. And this deck is not even running Sonia, which a lot of you already disenchanted anyway, so there's that too. So you might actually want to give this one a try, even though I really enjoyed my other iteration of the deck a lot better. But yeah, this one is also looking quite spicy, and it does have the stats to back it up. Matchup-wise, here's what we have. It's going to be very polarizing against things like Weapon Rogue and Location Warlock. Discover Hunter is also not your friend, but the rest are pretty nice, and Terran Shaman is a 50-50, so it definitely has that going for it. Mulligan-wise, here's what the stats are showing. Going first, you are gonna want your good curve with things like Miracle Salesman. The Quick Pick is absolutely MVP. Gorgon Zormo on curve is nice. Swarvy is also pretty cool. And you could even consider Prep, so you can get your hands on Dubious Purchase a lot quicker, or heck, even Chrono Boost, which is also not a bad hold on to. And on the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff. Don't get baited into holding onto the Photon Cannon too much. It's not an insta-keep, it's something you could consider, but definitely don't go out of your way if your hand is not actually good. For other good rogue decks, we can also see more standard variations of Protoss rogue, like the one I do actually enjoy. This one with the Sonia, with the single High Templar, not the different Dark Templar, so that's definitely worth checking. And also Weapon Rogue is absolute no-brainer. If you guys are low on dust, you should be grabbing yourself a Weapon Rogue and just clap some easy wins. You could even see plenty of this in Top Legend. The deck is not exactly hard to pilot well, so if you know what you're doing with it, you should be getting a lot of quick wins with it. But yeah, it's basically iterations of these rogue decks right now, so choose wisely. There's also Cutlass Rogue, if we gotta be completely honest, but honestly, I'm not a big fan of that one. It probably takes a little bit more than a hat rack to really win a lot with that one. And for the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Death Knight, we can still see Zerg Frost Death Knight doing best. There's also Rainbow Variation doing okay, but with this deck, it's basically all coming down to Infestor. If you don't get the Infestor nice and early, it's gonna be a pretty sad existence for you. If you do, it's gonna be pretty sad for the opponent. I am expecting a lot of nerfs to happen soon, probably in a week or maybe 10 days from now. So don't get too attached. We already have confirmation Zergs and Terrans are going to be getting hit, so both Shaman and Death Knight are going to be taking a big L over there, maybe even Hunter, maybe even Warlock, that kind of stuff. So that way the other new cards actually get a little bit more breathing room. For Demon Hunter, there's really no amazing Demon Hunter to write home about right now. This is a sad excuse of a Demon Hunter here, nothing that special. Druid, on the other hand, does have several iterations of decent Druid decks. You can go Hero Power, you can go Dungar, you can go Taunt. So plenty of ways for you to be playing Druid right now. None of them are super top tier right now, but if you know what you're doing with them, you can also be clapping Easy Legend with that. Right now, Elemental Mage is still pretty amazing, especially for the price tag it has, pretty cheap. Things like Protoss Mage are not that hot, however, this one is playable for sure. You probably even could hit Easy Legend with this one if you really know how to play it, but it's probably not for most. And I've seen some people even play things like Sith Mage here and there, but you gotta really be smart with that one. For Paladin, everything is under 50 right now. We did see Handbuff and Terran Pally peak above 50 not too long ago, but right now they're back where they came from basically, so not that hot. Warlocks, honestly, Location Warlock is still pretty amazing if you know how to play it, and again, you could be checking out my guide about it, so you know how to actually pull it off nice and well. And lastly, we have Warrior with Terran Warrior being at the top still. This is actually a Taunt Warrior at the top, not so much Terran, but it still has plenty of the Terran stuff, so let's call it like it is. We even have iterations that are running things like Odin Warrior, even though Odin is going to be rotating really soon, so obviously don't go out of your way crafting anything for this deck. But yeah, Taunt Warrior is definitely pretty strong with the Terran package, especially against all of the Terran Shamans. So that's gonna be it for this top 5, guys. Hope this helps you figure out what deck you want to be bringing to Easy Legend before the new expansion happens. Don't forget to enter my giveaway, and also don't forget to download Raid from my download link and support the channel and enjoy yourself a top tier game. Thanks for watching, I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.